to Crime in Court. This is episode 142, more post conviction interviews in the Canton cover up series, Commonwealth versus Karen Reed. And as you, I'm sure, are aware by now, Karen Reed has been acquitted of all of the charges that had to do with homicide. So, murder two and manslaughter, all of the lessers on those involving manslaughter were also found not guilty. And leaving the scene, she was found not guilty. So those were like the big ones. And she was charged with an OUI. The jury did find that they saw enough evidence to believe that she was drunk. I personally don't think that the evidence that was admitted was, I thought it was, they tore it apart quite nicely, but I think they could, if they were going to add the OUI, I think maybe they should have done a little bit more in tearing that apart. I mean, they did take, Alessi did a good job of breaking down the different types of blood and how the blood testing that's done in a hospital versus the kind that's done in a criminology lab and how hospital tests aren't accurate. So on those reasons alone, I would have said not guilty on the OUI, but I would have, if it meant not hanging the jury, I would have said, okay, fine, give her the OUI and acquit her of everything else. So I don't know what happened, but that is um, kind of what would have been in my mind, anyways, if I had been a juror. So so in this episode, like I said, we're going to go over a bunch of post verdict interviews from, we've got some jurors, we've got Nathan and Bill Reed, the brother and father of Karen Reed. We've got a bunch of stuff to get through, so let's get started. I mean, there's like tons of interviews and things just flying around. I can't even keep up. So please hit the like button and let's dive in to up first. We have juror 17, who was an alternate juror. Okay, so this this juror was interviewed by John DePietro. He's kind of a clown. If you've been following the story, watching Turtle Boy, he's kind of, they get into like verbal, I don't know what's, but like outside the courthouse and stuff. So John DePietro, he calls himself a journalist or something along those lines, but he really has not been fair or impartial in his reporting because he's very, very pro and or very pro Commonwealth, very anti Karen Reed. So let's read his interview with the alternate juror, juror number 17. So alternate meaning he did not deliberate, or they, he, she, I don't know. So here is that interview by John DePietro. So this juror says, I was not a deliberating juror, so I can't speak to what the 12 deliberators were told. As for being an alternate, I have to confess to being very let down when Jim called my number. He called three other numbers before 17. I thought I was going to get through, but what can you do? It's the luck of the draw. Six of us had to be alternates. I think if you've been following Jess Machado's coverage, I think he was the note taker. Like he took a ton of notes, this guy. So John asks, how would you have voted? He says, I would have voted not guilty for all charges except maybe the OUI. I think she was drunk in the morning. They tested her in the AM, but that doesn't prove she was drunk when she left the bar because she easily could have gone home and drank. How was Hank Brennan? Hank was very focused, very determined. He did a great job at crossing Sergeant Barrows. So he liked his cross on Sergeant Barrows, whereas I thought it was kind of unseemly. He definitely him up and got him confused on the pictures, but at times Hank came across as just rude. That we knew. That we definitely knew that Hank is just rude. Saying over here. If you recall, there was a moment, it might have been Barrows, where he like it was like over here, look over here. Don't look over there. Look over here at me. When I think it was Barrows, the witness, whoever it was, looked over at, I want to say towards like the defense table, and he's like, over here, like, look at me, like, so rude. So this juror saw it and said Hank came across as rude, saying over here to the witnesses was way over the line. And the thing with holes in the back of the hoodie, that really hurt his credibility. So Hank has no credibility, especially after the hoodie trick that he tried to pass off the criminologist's cuts in the sweater or sweatshirt as holes in the shirt that were caused by road rash or whatever from John hitting the ground, which didn't happen. So, the next question from John DePietro: how was the blue paint? Honestly, my head was spinning. I thought it was a joke. I couldn't believe a forensic expert would do something so silly. I agree. I agree with that sentiment. All it did was demonstrate that if you intentionally put your bare skin against wet paint, the paint will transfer to your skin. I don't know how anyone could think that was a smart thing for the prosecution to show. These interviews by these jurors are fantastic. They get better. So, uh, so John DePietro asks, what was wrong with the case? There were some glaring holes for the prosecution. To name just a few, number one, Hank kept portraying Karen Reed's statements at the scene as an admission, but that doesn't add up. If Karen Reed admitted to killing a cop, why didn't any of the cops on the scene arrest her? Very good question. We've been asking that for years, or even detain and question her. Again, we've been asking that the same for 2.5, 3 years, whatever it's been, or put it in their reports. Again, they didn't even write it in their reports that she said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him, because it didn't happen. There's an officer down, and there's a woman yelling her admission for emergency responders to hear, but by coincidence, not a single cop heard it or thought to write it down. That's odd, right? His second main reason why there was something wrong with the case. He says no consistent explanation for injuries. No medical doctors would say that a car was involved. It, if he was on the lawn from 12:30 to 6 a.m., where was the frostbite? This dude is every one of us. He's asking the questions that didn't get answered by the Commonwealth that we've all been asking for years. He says the state ignored this. Why? I'm not a true crime guy. I don't know about other murder trials, but maybe you do, John. Is it normal for the state to charge someone with murder when their own medical examiner can't or won't call it a homicide? This is such a breath of fresh air to hear the jury have some common sense here. Is it normal for the state to not call the main detective, your lead detective, Michael Proctor, buried by the state? Now consider, is it normal for both of these things to happen in a murder trial? Common sense would suggest no way. That's massive doubt. What did the defense do well? Is John's next question. And this juror says the defense did a good job of establishing reasonable doubt, especially with Trooper Buchanan. He was so defensive. I kept asking myself, why are the police so defensive slash evasive here? And not just Buchanan. So I'm sure Buchanan and Deaver were probably the ones that really stood out as to, and probably Gallagher too, in his, oh no, I wouldn't change anything about my investigation with Canton PD. It was excellent that morning. We used the leaf blower and everything, and it was a great idea to do that. So I don't know. There were probably a lot of law enforcement there that were a little defiant, and it was noticed, as you can see by what they're saying. Next question is, who were good witnesses? This juror says the scientists from ARCA were convincing. Bam. A lot of people are saying Arca so far as like very convincing, good witnesses for the defense. And when they were cross examined, they didn't get defensive or snippy like Welcher. Contrast with so many of the witnesses for the prosecution. Brian Laughlin was maybe the most convincing, at least for me. I was born in Norwood when JFK was president and have lived in Massachusetts my whole life. I've shoveled more driveways than I care to remember. Haha. If there was a body laying on an inch of snow or two just off the road, there's no way the plow driver would miss it, right? I mean, again, these are all the questions we've been asking. This guy is us for the last 2.5 years asking these questions. Unless the plow guy was drunk or had skipped his route, then he probably would have noticed if those things didn't come into account, he's saying. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure that Lucky Loughlin would have noticed a dead body lying on the lawn in a sea of white snow and a body that, that would stick out. It wouldn't hide it. The snow wouldn't hide it, is kind of what the Commonwealth loves to tell you. And there wasn't even that much snow at the time. So if the ground is lightly, there's enough snow to track a cat, well, it's enough to light up the road and, highlight something of a darker color that's lying on the grass. Just saying. All right, so who are the bad witnesses? He asks. Jen McCabe. Too many things didn't make sense, especially she forgot who she called when those other agents asked her. Harry Roberts. She kind of admitted to lying at the grand jury. She didn't just kind of admit, she admitted it. She said she didn't do it on purpose, but still, it made me wonder, why is the state calling someone who lied at the grand jury? The Boston cop Deaver, whatever her name is. She didn't want to answer anything. And that's not just this guy saying she didn't want to answer anything. Haha. It's kind of funny in the hindsight, but at the time it made me think, why is a policewoman so reluctant to say whether or not there was cameras in the police station that she worked for? She couldn't even admit that. How were the Karen clips to you? I didn't give them much weight. The police didn't do anything with her contemporaneous statements that morning, so what would years later in my opinion? Okay, so he didn't give the clips much weight. And they were all out of context, which the another juror has mentioned that they noticed they were cherry picking certain clips and only giving you, like half of a sentence in some of them. Um, the next question from John. How do you think John died? This juror says, I don't know. But what I do know is that the state could not back up their theory. For heck's sake, Hank even said something like, we don't know what happened, but we have a good idea. Exactly. Whoops, my hand slipped. Exactly. They Hank said it. He said it multiple times when he was crossing other witnesses, and he said it in his closing that we don't know what happened, but we have a good idea. I wrote that down at the time. I thought, yikes, we have a good idea. The state needs more than a good idea to convict for murder, right? That was an ocean of reasonable doubt to me. None of the injuries added up with the state's suggestions. If he had been drilled by the car, he should have had more injuries. If he was just clipped and spun around and stumbled and fell on the lawn, then he wouldn't have fallen hard enough to crack his head open. They never reconciled that for me. He's got great points. They seemed to just leave it open, like maybe it was a combo of those strikes. And then there's the marks on his arm. To me, it's extremely unlikely that you could get such parallel lines in the chaos of a shattered taillight, but most of all, how could there be no trace of John on any of the pieces? Dozens of taillight pieces, scratch, gouge, skin, Yet not a single taillight piece had any human material on it. Exactly, no DNA, no blood, no nothing except a magical hair that was on the bumper, not even the taillight. More doubt. It honestly would have been more believable if they said Karen got uh, out of the car with a hammer and attacked John. The claw marks of the hammer could have made those arm marks, and the ball part could crack his skull. So that this guy would have possibly believed. Next question, is Lexus data backing up? I wasn't sure about weight to give the Lexus data. Example, the 75% accelerator pedal. Interesting, yes, but there was no definitive time linked to it because of conflicting theories of time drift. And speaking of drift, Mr. Burgess's graduation date drifted quite a bit. Oh my God, I love this juror. Man, that was tough to watch, he says. Cell phone temperature for John's phone. Well, the state essentially said maybe it was under John's shoulder outside all night. The defense said maybe it was in a garage from 12:30 to 5 a.m. Competing maybes equals doubt. This is wonderful. This jury got it. I don't know what was wrong with the first jury, but this jury got it. I mean, they threw so much in the first trial that I know Lally did so much to confuse the jury rather than, expose the truth. Here, Hank just tried to hide the truth, and it was very much noticeable by the jurors and anyone watching. Next question. Hank said he backed up, hit him, and left. Why was he wrong? This juror says, we never got any real evidence of a collision. Again, no medical doctor said he had injuries consistent with a vehicle strike. Yes, Hank said she hit him, okay, but Hank's statements aren't evidence. Lawyers say a lot of things. Can't take what either side's lawyers say at face value. Thank you. This guy gets it, man. Um, I'm really impressed with the answers by some of these jurors, by the way. We went over yesterday. We went over the juror four's not testimony. He came out and he did an interview with TMZ, and he said he wasn't nearly as candid as this guy. And we're gonna get to someone else who's even more candid after we're done with him. So it's gonna be it's interesting hearing from these jurors, I think. And finally, the last question of juror 17 is, what did you think of Dr. Wolf, the brain surgeon? He said, a super accomplished guy, very slick, made me think of the Rat Pack cavorting in Miami. Didn't help prove a collision, though. Yeah, he was kind of a pointless witness to me, I think, especially because cancel, save that. Especially because he didn't move the needle at all. And at the very end of his testimony, he said, I've seen a lot of trips and falls from where he's at in, what did he say, Minnesota or something? I don't know. Somewhere cold, where you get cold weather. And he's like, I've seen a lot of trips and falls. And it just added more doubt that that is what it could have been. Could have been just a slip and fall all by himself. I mean, the roads were icy. If that could have happened too. I don't believe that, and I fully believe that he was in the house. But I'm saying for a juror who doesn't have all the evidence, they could think that John just slipped and fell on his own. He was drinking a lot that night too. So all right, so the next statement I want to give you is from Michael Morrissey himself, and he told WBZ TV that the jury has spoken. That's his statement. That's all he's saying. Christina Rex has, reached out for more for him, if he had more to say, and basically he gave the comment that we will not be saying any more about the Karen Reed case. Um, so this is it. Michael Morrissey has been defeated by the all powerful Karen Reed and her team of supporters and her team of incredible lawyers and her team of amazing experts and everyone that was involved. So there you have it. The jury has spoken, Michael Morrissey. It sure has. All right, the next interview, and we're going to go through a few interviews with this individual because her name is, oh gosh, what is her name now? I totally forgot it. Prada. Her last name's Prada. Paula Prada. Um, it's right there, though. She First of all, Jess Machado interviewed her. So that's a written interview, and then we have some recorded interviews from her. She was on the Howie Carr show today, which was an excellent interview. So let's just get into it. She says some incredible things, and this woman, she's a smart cookie. She gets it. So this is Jessica Machado's exclusive interview with Karen Reed, juror number 11. This was actually Turtle Boy's number one pick of jurors, like of who he favorited. So these are the 10 questions with juror Paula Prado. Let's start off with the most important question. Did you think Karen Reed killed John O'Keefe, and when did you come to that conclusion? To be absolutely honest, on the first day of trial, as I observed Karen's demeanor in court, I was very suspicious. It felt like she was hiding something. Her confidence gave off an impression of arrogance. Over time, I came to understand that I was looking at a woman who had already lost so much. The fact that she was able to remain calm, composed, and actively involved in her own defense became something I admired. So look at that. She kind of got the wrong first impression of Karen, and now she's on Team Karen Reed. So I had doubts, of course. I was initially inclined to find her guilty, at least of manslaughter. But the more holes we saw in the case, the less I believed she was responsible for John's death. For the past 3 weeks or so, I became increasingly comfortable in saying she did not kill John. Did you feel that the judge favored either side in this trial? I wouldn't say favored, but especially during the defense's case, I noticed a lot more of "I'll allow it" being said right after objections from the defense. So whenever the defense objected to something Hank Brennan was doing, she's like, "I'm going to allow it." I understand that certain words or facts can't be introduced, and sometimes attorneys try to get something in by asking questions they know will be objected to. Still, Dr. Russell, for example, was hard to follow due to the constant sustained objections from the Commonwealth. And they did that on purpose because they didn't want you to understand that a dog bit his arm. So that was on purpose. Who was the most memorable witness in this trial? For me, Mr. Yuri Buchanan, because I was seated in the front row, I could see him clenching his fists a few times. It was very tense. ARCA was memorable for different reasons. They made a lot of technical information finally make sense to me. Did you believe the injuries to John O'Keefe's arm were caused by a dog? Yes. And I actually have my own theory about the dog's role in the death. I don't see those injuries coming from a taillight at all. Plus, the lack of more injuries on his body made it really hard to believe a collision occurred. Did you know that the ARCA witnesses were first contacted by the FBI? No. I only assumed it was the FBI after one of the witnesses before ARCA mentioned another agency. And she gets into that more in another interview, but yeah, she did figure out that it was the FBI. It not right away, but she was in tune with what they were saying whenever they were talking about like another agency or another law enforcement agency. She figured it out that it was the FBI, which is excellent news because we kept we were so worried about that. And then the first trial they didn't think that. They thought it was insurance or Turtle Boy who had hired them, which is just ridiculous. So what did you think of the video clips of Karen speaking in those documentaries? I think she wanted to speak her truth without having to go on the stand. Those interviews gave her better control of the narrative. I also think it was a strategic move by her defense. Her alcohol was an undeniable fact. It was better for her to address herself. So, in your face, Hank Brennan, because he loved bringing in all these, statements from Karen from Dateline interviews and whatnot. And it actually helped this juror because it had this, it gave this juror Karen's voice to hear about was she drinking, wasn't she drinking, what happened. So those clips helped her. Even though you cherry picked the worst ones, they still were worked in Karen's favor. So take that, Spanky. Did you feel like convicting Karen of the OUI was the right thing, or did you feel like you had to convict her of something? Absolutely not. The OUI was the only charge I strongly believe the Commonwealth proved. She said in several interviews, quote, I was buzzed, I shouldn't have driven, my alertness wasn't where it should have been. Once we determined that the videos were admissible, I couldn't ignore that charge. But I also don't believe that and they checked the box for like point oh 0.08 and higher, that the state proved that. And I don't think they did based on the extrapolation, the way that the type of testing that was used. They didn't use full blood serum, they used the serum and all that. Like they went into all of that. So I have serious doubts as to whether she actually was over the limit at that time. I really do. So I don't think that they proved it. And the fact that they drew her blood at the time that they did, and they're trying to extrapolate it back to a different time, I just don't think that it's reasonable or reliable in any sense or fashion. So that's where I disagree. But again, like I said, I would have convicted her of the OUI if it meant not hanging the jury on that charge. So maybe that's where a lot of people were in that, and maybe that's why it took so long to figure that out. I don't know. All right. So the next question is, what witness did you trust the most? I trusted the forensic scientists from the Massachusetts State Crime Lab or State Police Lab, like Maureen Hartnett and Tess Chart. Isn't it Tess Hart? I don't know. Um, I don't remember who Tess was. I remember Maureen. She seemed really unreliable to me, but her answer sucked, but she was being honest, at least on the stand. So they worked with what they were given. I also believe Dr. Laposada and Isaac Wolf were extremely knowledgeable and stated their findings truthfully. And this is funny because three out of the four people that she just listed as the most trustworthy witnesses were Commonwealth witnesses, and it still pushed her to a not guilty. So there's that. What witness did you trust the least? Officer Kelly Denver, whatever you want to call her. Her behavior in court made me question whether it's safe for someone who acts like that to be carrying a gun among civilians. Same girl, same. I've been feeling this way too. Why is she still a cop? She needs to go. How hard was it for you to be a part of this jury for so long? How were you able to do it every day? She says, I have four young children under my care and I work from home on a contract basis. I don't have a large workload because I'm their primary caregiver. It was fairly easy to manage their care with my husband and my extended family. I asked my father to help out as well, and he came in from Brazil to spend some time with us. Having this part taken care of, I was actually very happy to be part of this process. Did not mind to leave the house every day to help the judge, as my kids would say. Once I got into the routine of going to the courthouse every day, I honestly felt like I was reliving my old life as an attorney before I had kids. She was a practicing attorney in Brazil. She's from Brazil, so just all those trolls that are like, "Oh my God, she was a lawyer." She's a practicing attorney in Brazil, or was a licensed. I don't know if she's still practicing, but she was. She goes on to say, it made me think seriously about studying and learning more about American law, maybe even working in the legal field again. It wasn't a burden at all, except for deliberation day when I felt extremely stressed and overwhelmed by the weight of our responsibility. Yeah, that would be stressful. What is something you would want everyone to know about this case or trial? I think I'd want to speak directly to the O'Keefe family. I was the juror who left the courtroom in tears, and it wasn't because justice had been served for Karen Reed, though I was happy for her and her family. I cried for Mrs. O'Keefe, Paul, and everyone in John's family. They did not get the justice they deserve. They didn't, but I also don't feel bad for them at this point. Uh, but they didn't get the justice they deserved, and that's on the Commonwealth. And she has more to say about that. She says, I understand that they might not want to hear from any of us, but I want to make it clear that our duty was only to determine whether there was reasonable doubt. If there's any chance that Karen Reed was responsible for John's death, then the blame lies with the sloppy investigation that made it impossible to connect her to his tragic passing. We didn't fail the O'Keefes, the Commonwealth did, the police did. Personally, I believe she is 100% innocent, but even for those jurors who still had doubts, none of us could say, beyond a reasonable doubt, that she did it. To Karen Reed supporters and advocates, please keep pressuring the DA. Keep standing against corruption. And above all, I hope we can still achieve justice for John O'Keefe. Yeah, I mean, this lady gets it. Juror 17 got it too. So that she was juror 11, Paula Prado. Now we have video of her. Let me shrink myself here. So we've got video of her. This is with Boston 25 this morning.
Forward to actually share your experience about being a juror in this high-profile case.
Hold on. All right. I don't know why it's glitching. Let's try that again.
And what made you come forward to actually share your experience about being a juror in this high-profile case?
I actually want to give a message to the family, make them understand that, or at least hear us out saying it's not our fault that Karen Reed was innocent. I mean, the Commonwealth and the investigation couldn't actually prove and show evidence enough to make us convict her of anything. So I want to come out to let them know that we feel for them. Like, I personally feel for them a lot. I'm a mother, and it broke my heart to see the family leaving the courthouse on that day. But wasn't her fault, and I hope they find who did it.
Let's talk about the verdict and how you guys came to this conclusion.
At first, most of us were on the same page pretty much. We were shocked with so many holes the case presented to us. But there were some people who had questions, and we were there those 4 days to answer those questions. Weren't like heated argument, like, oh my God, we disagree and everything. No, but we had some disagreements about this evidence X or Y, and we talked through it. We were very respectful of each other, and we came out to the agreement.
Was there any particular evidence that you guys were really stumped on?
For me, specifically the tail light, we all took a look close to the tail light, and we couldn't make the tail light, the damage on the tail light, the original tail light, compatible with the injuries on his body. Mm-hmm. So having a close look of the tail light helped me a lot, and I'm sure the other jurors too.
And that solidified it?
Yeah.
And you mentioned who might have done this. I know David Yannetti, her attorney, said, there's somebody else out there that is responsible. Do you have any ideas who could be responsible, or do you feel the same way as you sort of suggested you do?
Yeah, I think something happened inside the house and he was placed outside. So whoever was inside the house, we didn't hear from the owner of the house or Brian Higgins, who allegedly had some sort of, involvement with Karen Reed days prior. So, I mean, the spotlight for me is on them, but I can't say, just like they can't prove that was Karen Reed, I can't prove it was any of the people in the house.
Can you quickly clarify what happened when you guys came out with a verdict and then said, oh, actually no verdict? There was a little point.
Yeah, we had some questions.
I would love to see what they're going to say. If they ever go on and watch trial 1 and learn about all the butt dials and the destroying of cell phones and things like that, if her tune might change a little bit.
It's about the sleep and how to.
Oh, the sleep.
Yeah, if we did right, and yeah, we sent back, and I mean, we didn't even send back. Was in a deliberation room with us, but then because the judge knew that we had the verdict, she asked to seal the paper and bring it to her.
Is that the situation where she came back and said there was a verdict and then less than 30 minutes? Like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We talked maybe, I think, an hour more, and then we came with the other verdict.
What were you guys split on, and how many of you guys were split on certain parts of this verdict?
I think, sorry, we're half and half as when we first got there. Like Friday, last Friday we didn't do anything. We were just like, we all want to talk, put it out.
This
Because
is driving me nuts. Why does it keep freezing like that? Hold on one second. See if that's any better.
too many days without talking about it. And Monday we start to look into the evidence, the witnesses and the videos and the taillight close. And we're kind of like half and a half, and we had to see which questions, what make you be guilty, what make you feel not guilty for this charge and the other charge. And it wasn't that hard, I think. I think we were very respectful. We heard, and everybody left feeling that they did the right thing.
And how has your life changed since you've been part of this experience? I know it's still pretty early after, but has anything changed about your viewpoint toward justice or the justice system?
Yeah.
Since then?
So a lot of people were raising this thing, oh, she's an attorney, she shouldn't be a jury, and this and that. Just clarifying, I'm an attorney from Brazil. My license is in Brazil. I never work in the U.S. I can't practice in the U.S. And I didn't lie when they chose me to be a jury. And nothing changed so far. I did like to be part of this because for me, most of the time I'm a mom. I do have a part-time job, but from home because I have to take care of my kids. So being out every day, being there every day, getting this routine of working outside the house, actually I really enjoy it. And being in a courtroom made me feel like the old days when I was young. So the change was just my personal opinion about like what I'm going to do next. But overall, I'm just waiting for summer to start and take my kids out and get this behind. And just I'm going to keep following close because I want to see what's going to happen. I want to see what's the DA going to do next. I didn't have a chance to check the news and if they said anything.
I am so curious about this. When did you realize the gravity of this case? Obviously, you didn't know anything going into jury duty, but when was that point that you really realized, oh wow, we just made a decision and it was this big? It was the Karen Reed case.
When I heard the people outside.
Okay, this is driving me insane. I think it's because I have the Highway Car website up, and they have so many ads, pop-ups, and things like that, so it's annoying, and it's taking up bandwidth.
Last Wednesday, because I didn't know there was that amount of people outside. As we drive every day, we could see some people in pink, and I didn't know pink was her color. I had a bunch of pink shirts, and then I stopped using them because I don't want to give a vibe. But I had no clue. There were, I don't know, hundreds of people outside. It was that a big movement. And Aiden, Turtle Boy, I never heard about him before that. So I saw that he was very involved in this and I recognized him from court. So I started looking into his work or his advocacy, I don't know. And I didn't know it was that big. I mean, the judge said when she was picking us for the jury poll, it's a media case, it's a big case, but I had no clue that big, like national big.
Right. So when you were sitting in the courtroom when the verdict came down,
when
what was going through your mind, and what did you hear in there?
I heard just people outside, and that's when I started crying because that people outside made the family of John O'Keefe feel very sad just hearing that. So that moment broke my heart.
Don't feel bad for them. Don't feel bad for the O'Keefes. Don't feel bad. You can feel bad that they lost someone, but don't feel bad for them because they're not really that sympathetic. And they've sat through 2 trials now, and they know Karen didn't do this, and they still continue to believe and associate themselves with the killers, the actual killers in this case.
And then, I don't know, I just hope they find justice.
Is there anything that you would say to the O'Keefes if you saw them?
Yes, please keep fighting. We really don't think it was Karen Reed. The investigation was floppy. Believe that. Look at yourself and keep fighting to find who did this to him because he seemed to be a very nice guy. His niece testified, friends testified, and we had no doubt that was unnecessary death. But it wasn't Karen Reed, and let's find who did it.
Do you think the investigation was just sloppy, or do you think potential cover-up with the police officer?
I'm not gonna say it's a cover-up, but was a sloppy effort. I would keep it just being like sloppy and lazy, I would say too. But if it was a cover-up, let's find out.
Is there something that really stood out when you were listening to some of the testimony? Like, wow, when you say sloppy or lazy, what's the first thing that comes to mind?
No reports. Like nobody made like an official report of like the GPS location of the evidence 1, 2, 3. Oh yeah, the ring camera disappeared. Oh yeah, no, this moment, like 2 minutes, we don't have the recording anymore. So all those coincidences doesn't make sense.
And
Did you guys ever talk about the dog or potential dog bite during that?
We mentioned. I mean, you mean deliberation?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we mentioned the dog, but not much. I mean, I think that's looked like a dog bite, but because it wasn't presented to us like more information about the dog and everything, we put our opinions aside and just focus on the evidence that was actually there.
did you always believe, or do you believe that Karen Reed is innocent? And did you always believe that from the moment you stepped in to be a juror to the moment that you walked?
No, I didn't know about the case. So when I first started, I thought maybe manslaughter because of the drink thing. That she was under influence overall, and but after the weeks passed by and the witnesses, and I just couldn't make her guilty.
Was there like a turning point, like a aha moment where you're like, okay, maybe she's not?
The Commonwealth witness judge, I forgot his name, Judge Welcher.
Yeah, Derek.
Dr. Welcher.
Dr. Welcher.
Yeah. So Dr. Welcher, car accident reconstruction, seemed a little off, and wow, they couldn't even prove that. So that moment was maybe an aha moment. And when ARCA came in and gave us such a good accident reconstruction to us, made sense.
Interesting. Is there anything else?
So before this trial, so last year, you never heard of the Karen Reed trial before?
No, I moved here February last year, so I think you guys were talking a lot about it. I saw billboards, I saw some yard signs, free Karen Reed, but I was never curious to look to see what was it. I love crime, I love true crime, to listen to podcasts, but mainly in Brazil, mainly things that happens over there. So I'm not involved with social media, local news in the US. So I really didn't know much about Karen Reed. I just know her face and her billboard.
Interesting. Yeah. And what did you think about her presence in the courtroom? I know people have looked at her as like kind of cool, calm, collected, or showing little emotion at times. So I don't know what your perception of her is or was, or how it evolved.
I did expect more emotion. I was looking like she doesn't cry, she doesn't move. She's just so calm and so present. But she was fighting for her life, and I'm not judging. It's the way that she found herself in that horrible situation, and she needed to fight. And so good for her that she had the presence to do that.
Yep. All right. Next, same juror number 11. We are listening to it. There's no video. We're just listening to the audio here of the Howie Carr Show, Karen Reed, juror number 11. And he played a portion of it, but the full audio, he played a portion of it on his show. I think he's doing it in segments, but here is the full interview.
4242-844-500-4242. Yesterday we spoke to Alan Jackson, the defense lawyer for Karen Reed, and today we are joined in studio by Paula Brado. She was one of the witnesses. She was juror number 11
Yes.
in the case. And thank you so much for coming in, Paula. And first, you wanted to say something first to the O'Keefe family.
Yes, one of the reasons why I want to come out and give my my story, my side of the story, was to let the message for them that it's not our fault that they didn't find who killed John O'Keefe. The Commonwealth and the investigation, they couldn't prove that was Karen Reed, and for us, we had enough reasonable doubt that it wasn't her, and we couldn't convict her of anything. And I really hope the O'Keefes find who actually killed John O'Keefe, and the DA reopen the case and things keep going from there. I will be following. I'll be watching closely because I broke my heart to see that family leaving court that day.
How about seeing the Reed family in court? Did you?
Yes. Well, the moment of last Wednesday, they were, of course, happy, tears of joy. I didn't pay much attention on them that moment. I was more looking for the family of John O'Keefe leaving the court. But yeah, I did saw them like being very emotional and happy for Karen Reed, and I'm happy for them too. I hope Karen Reed disappear for a while and can have a vacation, because I imagine it was a roller coaster for her, very drowning experience. Hell, she lost so much already. and her family as well. So I hope they can get some peace and rest and keep going with their lives. But the reason why I came out wasn't to get like validation for Karen Reed or Karen Reed's family. It was because really I would like Joe O'Keefe's family to know that we feel for them. I feel deeply for them, and I know the other jurors do too.
Now, I remember when they were picking the alternates and the people who were actually going to consider the case, Turtle Boy said he knew that he would know the fix was in if they got rid of jurors number 5, 10, and 11. So he, after watching you, he figured you were leaning towards an acquittal.
Yes, I didn't know who Turtle Boy was before. To be quite honest, every time I saw a billboard, free Karen Reed, and then next to free Turtle Boy, I thought it was some environmental problem. It's like, I'm not going to look into it. No, I don't. Seriously. It's something with turtles, maybe? I really didn't know because I'm not from Massachusetts. I'm from Brazil. And I moved to Massachusetts just a year ago. And I don't follow local news. I have young children, so I just, watch Netflix all day with cartoons. And my news and my social media is all in Brazil and with the news over there and politics, international politics and everything. So I wasn't aware of Turtle Boy or Karen Reed. And when I think I saw him now that I saw his face. I saw him maybe twice at the trial. I remember him twice. And I don't know why he picked me. I was like his favorite juror, but thank you, I guess.
So what was the most compelling piece of evidence that gave you reasonable doubt?
The piece of taillight, no doubt. Like, see that piece of taillight close up, having in my hand, and compare the broken piece with a new piece and the videos of Karen Reed leaving the house at 5:07 in the morning on the 29th, and then her car being towed from her parents' house at 29 afternoon. I saw like red light coming out of it, so it couldn't be that much of a damage on a taillight if we could see the red shining. And we did a close up, we stopped, we took a picture, we zoom in. And
this was the jury.
That was a jury, yeah.
Yeah, you just kept looking at it?
Yeah, we keep looking, making comparison with the taillight, the broken taillight, a real new taillight, and the videos. And that type of damage, that big damage, wasn't there when she left the house at 5:07 or when they towed the car in her parents' house.
So do you think the tail light was planted at 34 Fairview?
That's one of the theories we had for not convicting her. Doesn't seem like her taillight was broken. Doesn't seem like it was a collision. And if it was a collision, I think we would see more damage in his body. So that was the reasonable doubt right there. We put her on the scene. She, of course, dropped him off. We know she had some drinks. So there was some doubts. Maybe she did back up and clip him accidentally, like she said in her interviews. Maybe she backed up so fast that he got scared and jump away and fall. So many things could happen. But the collision being the reason why he died, I don't believe so.
How about all the videos that Hank Brennan played for you guys from the interviews? Did they have any impact on the jury?
It did, because at first I didn't know if we could see the videos and give a heavy weight to it, heavy evidence.
In deliberation?
Yeah, in deliberation, we didn't know, so we sent a message to the judge, because with text messages, she gave us the instruction that we should consider the text message as state of mind of Karen Reed or whoever was writing the message, so we weren't sure about the video. One thing that some jurors point out is that the video was cut. So Brennan just wanted to show us parts of it, the parts that were interesting to him, right? Mm-hmm. Clearly, we all knew that.
The parts that were designed to influence you.
Yes.
You understood that had been selectively edited.
Of course, we all did. We are a group of smart people, and every juror has this clear, like, of course he's selected. Sometimes we even mention they explain things so many times to us, so repetitive, feels like they think we're not going to understand. But
Brennan kept doing that over and over again. He kept if he liked an answer, he would ask that. He would ask it again and again. Did that impress you when he would do that?
No, that was annoying.
It was
because we got in the first place. You don't need to keep repeating. It's fine. We got it. The message. I missed what we were talking about.
No. So let me ask you: who was the most credible witness? Do you think?
Credible.
Just believable.
Believable. Dr. La Posada, the last doctor from the defense, she gave an impression of being extremely knowledgeable and sincere and straightforward on her answers. The police lab experts, their findings were believable and they work what was given to them. So if they have a shirt with a DNA of a taillight in the shirt, because that was given to them. So they work what the material they had. So I trust them. They were believable.
Was there any witnesses that you didn't find believable? Like, for instance, the Dr. Blue Man group or the guy that had taken 17 years to get his college degree?
Yeah. So, Dr. Blumen, I don't want. I think they just did a poor job. As a business, I think they should keep up with the game and get better results next time as a accident reconstruction. I don't think he could be trying to just give us the false impression, but he just did a poor job for the amount of money he was paid.
Did that bother the jury?
Yes.
$400,000?
Yes.
It really did bother them?
Every time we get in the buzz, especially in the beginning, we always think how much money the city, the state is putting on this police, following us, the buzz and everything. And then on top of this, all the money was spent on Hank Brandon and this aperture. Yeah, bothers me a lot.
So what about the scratches on John O'Keefe's arm?
The scratches didn't seem like came from a taillight, because if the taillight hit him and caused that, I think that the damage on his t-shirt or hoodie would be different. Yeah. The direction of the scratches were too similar to be caused by something just cracked.
Do you think anybody believed that they were caused by the taillight? Anybody in the jury?
Yeah.
Really?
There are people, yeah. Yeah, definitely. There are people who weren't sure. I do believe it looks like a dog from you. It feels like a dog. But some people think it could be something else. Not a dog or not a taillight. It could be something else.
Now, there was one thing that never came out. It was frustrating to people watching at home who knew what was going on. And that was the fact that Doctors Wolf and Rentschler, now who they were hired by. Mm-hmm. They were hired by the FBI. Mm-hmm. And does it bother you now that they kept that information from you?
No, it didn't make a difference, because once they said, we are contacted by an agency. So Jane McCabe said that right in the beginning, an agency or an entity came to her house, and that's raised a suspicion in my head, maybe the FBI. And then later on, the Officer Dever.
Yeah, Kelly Dever.
Yes,
yeah.
She also said, this entity or this agency called me, and Alan Jackson made sure the words entity and another agency, not the defense, not the Commonwealth. He made sure we knew that. So if we exclude both of them, FBI, and I think everybody noticed, everybody realized.
That's what we were wondering at home. We were wondering if you guys were getting the message.
Yeah, I realized right in the beginning. I don't know how long it takes for other people to realize that, but every time after Jane McCabe bring it up, and Alan Jackson mentioned a few times, and then Dever came in, was okay. It's FBI. I have on my notebook like FBI question mark in many places.
What about the fact that Jen McCabe, she was one of their star witnesses. She admits that she lied. First question she's asked by the other agency, she lies. What did that make you think?
Because she was right in the beginning, I was very open-minded to hear everybody, and I didn't make an opinion about Jen McCabe at that point. She could be overwhelmed in that morning. Her friend just died and she doesn't want to talk to anyone. I don't know how the FBI agents look like, if they look like someone from church who want to give the word of God. I don't know. I don't know what, she maybe didn't want to talk to anyone because of the situation, and she lied right away. But now that I have a better sense of the whole story, I think maybe she wants to be prepared first. But my personal opinion, I don't know.
Did you believe anything she said?
I think she had a good, believable story, but I don't think it states the fact, because it doesn't make sense, this story.
In what sense?
The way it was, one thing that really bothers me, how she was always saying, and Carrie too, she was hysteric, she was screaming, she was crazy. It's like, of course, her boyfriend just died. And for me, stop pointing out. Felt like a witch hunting, some type of thing, like they want to get Karen no matter what.
Felt like a witch hunting. We've all been saying that, right? Like they would drown her, or what is it? If you drown, you're a witch. If you don't drown, no. If you don't drown, I don't remember. If you don't drown, you're a witch, but then they drown you anyways or kill you, so it doesn't matter. It's basically what it was, is a witch hunt, a live Salem witch hunt of 2025.
I don't know. Nobody were there. I don't know what happened and why she would lie. But the story was well said. The tale was good, but didn't seem the
It was
truth.
rehearsed,
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
yeah,
It was rehearsed.
yeah.
But as you studied it
Doesn't seem to be true. Yeah.
it came apart. What about Kelly Dever? Now you brought her up. She was another with the Boston police detective, and she had a false memory. How did you react to hearing suddenly about a false memory?
For me, false memory is like remember if I had breakfast this morning or not, because I was in a rush and I had to leave the room. I don't remember. I have a false memory of having coffee, but I don't know. A false memory full of details, like what she falsely remember. It's too much. And the person, she was called by the commissioner, right?
Michael Cox.
Yeah, why? Do the right thing. Why? I mean, don't you trust your cops already going to do the right thing? You really need to call her. And she just started, who was called from the boss right in the beginning of their career to have a tip on how to react in the court. So she wasn't believable at all. And she was uncomfortable to watch her behavior because she's an officer after all. And she's, among us, and she carries a gun. And she was not reliable and scary knowing that she's around holding a weapon, honestly.
Were there any of the prosecution witnesses that you thought?
Not just that she holds a weapon, but she holds the ability to take away someone's freedom with that gun and handcuffs that she carries. So that's the scary part, that she could be so false in her memories and yet be able to take away other people's rights.
Were believable.
Sure, the scientists from the forensic lab, I like them. They were good. Dr. Scotty Bello, the one who made the autopsy.
But she ended up being more of a defense witness in the end, right?
Was,
I mean, what did you think? They bring in the medical examiner who's supposed to come up with the cause of death, and then she says, "I can't tell what the cause of death was." What did that make you think?
I admire her for that, not be afraid to say the truth. Yes, when she said that, it looks like it was a defense witness, and I took in consideration because she was being professional. She was being true to her findings. The other forensic experts, the one who found DNA of John, but two males or other two people. So they also stating the truth to me, and they were reliable. I think in the beginning, even Carrie Robert.
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like her testimony was emotional, and she sincerely feel John's death, and she wasn't as coached as Jim McCabe seemed to me. She was more, natural and.
But she
human.
changed her story.
I know, but she seemed more human.
Did it bother you that she changed her story too when the other agency got to her?
She seems to be maybe she got caught up in a manipulation event system. I don't know, but regarding her feelings and her behavior in court, she seems more believable than Jim McCabe because she felt, she was sad, she was sorry, she wanted justice, just like his family. His family wanted justice, of course, and I hope they find another friend of John O'Keefe. I think Mike, his name. He was also. A good witness, like character witness.
Right.
We all know John was a good person. John was, an excellent uncle, and it's a loss for society not having him around.
So, what about the text messages?
Which one?
That were read by Yuri Buchanan. Michael Proctor's text messages.
First of all, who is Michael Proctor? Because none of us knew.
Really?
Yes, I didn't know. Again, I'm not from here. I'm not from Massachusetts. I don't know who are the police around here.
He's a cancer. That's how Alan Jackson described him in the opening.
Exactly, but that's all we knew, why he's a cancer. And then the text messages came in, and then we learned that he was fired. Okay, so he was fired. He's not going to be called to the stand. Okay, fine. And I saw the text messages as unprofessional, of course, immature, horrifying. He was the head of the investigation. Doesn't matter how many times you, Buchanan, not want to say that, avoid to say that he was the leader or the head of the investigation. Of course, he was the head of the investigation. And I'm glad he's fired, and I hope he find, his way out.
He wants his job back. He said that last night on NBC.
I heard that he gave an interview. I didn't have a chance to see it.
Yeah. So yesterday, Alan Jackson was complaining about Judge Canton. What did you think of Judge Canton?
To the jury, she was a very nice judge. She will protect us. We felt safe in courthouse and everything. There was some moments that I think there was too much objection from Mr. Brennan, and she would suspend and not let Alan Jackson continue or Mr. Alessi continue. And the opposite, when Alan Jackson would object something, she would allow Mr. Brennan to keep going with information that maybe we're not supposed to hear. I don't know. So it's at least with the defense witnesses in the past week, I felt there was a lot of it was easy for the Commonwealth to say whatever they want, and she was allowing. And also,
She even is feeling the bias in the courtroom. She's not saying it as much, but she felt it. She saw it. She noticed it. She's not saying, "Oh, the judge is biased," but she felt it. She noticed by the way that Bev ruled.
I'm sorry, there was some moments with sarcasm and some rude comments between one another that just kept going during trial. Like, I wish the judge would just stop that.
Such as?
Deborah, for example, was one of them. The way she talked to the attorneys, the defense attorney, she was just so rude and agitated. Let me remember. In the past was between Brandon and Dr. Russell.
Yeah.
So the dog expert.
Right.
So Dr. Russell and Brandon saying you have memory problems, and she was so shocked to hear that. She felt so offended.
Were you offended that he asked
Yes,
her
because
that?
you don't need to ask that. She's presenting a report, and that's her work. You don't need to ask, because felt like he was asking that because she was an elderly lady. I don't know. I felt bad for her.
Well, Alan Jackson yesterday pointed out that when he was questioning Dr. Russell, that Brennan objected 49 times.
Oh.
And Canton, the judge, sustained every single one of those objections.
Yeah, I think I said that in the interview that I gave to Jessica Machado yesterday. It was hard to follow Dr. Russell's testimony because there was a lot of pauses of objections and everything, sustain, object, sustain, and we couldn't get the answer straight from her to make up our minds, to keep the process going in our heads. So yeah, there was, especially in her testimony, that I wish the judge would stop. And
Do you think the judge was on the side that the judge wanted Karen Reed convicted?
no, but because the judge also worked closely with the Commonwealth, the DA office and everything, I think there is a natural inclination. I don't know.
All right, you don't want to go out on a limb on that.
No,
perhaps.
yeah, because I can't say. I don't know.
So who was let's go down the list of the lawyers. Who was the most impressive defense lawyer, do you think? Who did you like the most?
So Jackson Action, he was the person who would wake us up. We have like a very technical witness, and then it's hard to follow numbers, math, and then he would come up and then, with his theatrical way of work, make us woke up. So it was nice to hear from him. But my favorite attorney was Bob Alessi. I just found him on Twitter. I think he is incredible, knowledgeable. The way he talks made it easy for us to understand. He's so polite. He showed at the same time kindness to everyone who was around. At the same time, he was being firm and straightforward in the things he needs to know. Very respectful to all witnesses. And I admire that. I like it. I because of my background as an attorney, I know when they are just, making their drama, their scene. It's part of the game when in trial. They need to catch us on emotion.
So you're an attorney?
I am an attorney, very clear, from Brazil. My license is in Brazil, but I study law, so I know how to behave in trial, kind of, in court. Don't work with this anymore, but I kind of was trained for that. So I kind of understand the process, their thinking process of the lawyers. But Alessi was definitely my favorite because even though he was like crushing a witness, it was with kindness. That was interesting to watch.
How about David Yannetti?
Yannetti didn't took the podium much, but yeah, very good lawyer too. I wish I could hear more of Lito, the female attorney. Yeah. I didn't know any of those people before.
Yeah.
I learned, and my uncle told me last night that Jackson was famous because of a Hollywood case or something. I'm still learning about everyone.
Now, what about the Hank Brennan?
So, okay, Hank Brennan in the beginning, also good lawyer, straight to the point. He has his case. I don't think he had a good case in his hand. So I can't say it was, no.
I agree.
Yeah, I don't know how he, I can't judge him as a lawyer because the case was awful, full of holes. And maybe in other cases he would do better. And he was also like a good lawyer at the beginning with the prosecution witnesses. He was really good. But with the defense witnesses, I think he was out of line sometimes.
You mean like with Dr. Russell or
yes.
Anyone else?
I'm sure there's someone else. I just can't remember right now.
Did he? I mean, did you and the jurors? It sometimes feel like a lawyer has got to sort of, be at least likable with the jury. Was Brennan a likable?
At the beginning, he was. At the end, no. At the end, like, we thought he was a good guy, like good cop, bad cop. And he was the bad cop by the end.
You think was it just that he knew he was losing the case and he just had?
He felt a little desperation, yes. Frustration, definitely. There was a time he threw some paperwork on the table and was kind of he felt he was angry.
Was there anything about that?
She saw him throw his paperwork on the table because he was angry. That's awesome. Losing your cool in front of the jury.
The trial that made you uncomfortable? Any of the testimony or any of the actions of the lawyers?
The action of the lawyers, again, when they were offensive sometimes, even like Jackson and Buchanan. Do you want a dictionary? Do you want that exchange about not understanding? I hate make you do this. Oh, you don't. Was a little tense, but also entertaining to see that exchange. Like he wants to take something from him. He's Buchanan on the other side avoiding.
So you guys were into entertainment, just like we were watching it.
Some witnesses were entertaining, yes.
Who was the most entertaining witness?
I think the exchange between Alan Jackson and Buchanan was very interesting because clearly he wants to take things out of him and is repeating, and he's on the defensive. He's hiding his questions. He's trying to go around and not being directed, answering directly. So that was very good to watch.
So do you think it would have been quicker deliberations if they had just come out and told you that Doctors Wolf and Rentschler worked for the FBI and that the FBI was involved in this, or did everyone just figure it out?
No, we didn't. Wasn't a thing we discussed, actually. I mean, we just mentioned, you guys all know that the agency is FBI, right? Yes, we realize. But wasn't something we took in consideration, because the FBI is involved, so there is corruption there. No, we want to see with our eyes. We use the
So all Bev had to do was say, yes, we can allow you to say that it was the FBI, but all I need to do is instruct them to say, don't infer anything, that it was the FBI. Don't try to speculate as to why the FBI was involved. That's all they needed. That's all Bev could have done to remedy this. But instead, she kept it from them in 2 trials. This jury figured it out anyways, and on their own set it aside and said, okay, it's the FBI. Who cares? Now what? they they didn't infer anything. They didn't speculate, and they did what they were supposed to do. I don't know. Maybe it helped because she was an attorney that she got to go. She helped them through the deliberation process. Maybe to tell them like, no, we're not supposed to and we're not supposed to solve the crime. We're supposed to look for reasonable doubt. We're not supposed to speculate as to why the FBI was involved. Maybe she had something to do with that.
evidence presented to us. We didn't take what happened before or with this another agency. Was really our opinion.
Do you have a theory as to what happened?
I do. I think maybe she clipped him, she touched him, or she backed up too fast. This is on the data of Aperture. If the data is true, considering other mistakes they made, we don't know. But if she backed up too fast and maybe hit the curb, or he had to jump far away from her or something, and maybe he lost his shoes on that event, I don't know. He was drunk. He had a lot of alcohol, more than her. And then she left. She didn't know what happened. He has to go inside the house, of course. His girlfriend is not there. It's a blizzard. He doesn't have a shoe, or he's drunk. He goes inside the house. Something happened inside the house. What is? I don't know. But I find very suspicious that Brian Higgins wasn't investigated. And on this time, at least, he wasn't brought out. I don't understand why the Alberts didn't came out and why the dog didn't bark at all. If it was a big dog and there was a lot of movement in front of the house. Oh, there was a noise, no sirens. Okay, but it was light. And there was like 5 cars, I don't know, coming in and out.
I have 2 German Shepherds and they bark at everything. There's no way they wouldn't be barking if there were engines, just loud engines from a fire truck. Not even like, you don't even have to hear the sirens, but just the loud engines of a car. Cars drive by and my dogs bark. So they would hear it. A dog would hear it. German Shepherds have excellent hearing.
Then a woman screaming, the dog would bark. Any dog would bark. So there was those holes that we can't fill in, I can't fill in.
Sounds like you were pretty sure the way it was going to go when after the charge to the jury and the closing arguments. I
was, yes. I got in the liberation room, knew what I wanted. I could change my mind. Yes, hearing other people what their notes were. Maybe I wrote something wrong. We discuss. Everybody did. We compare each other's notes because we want to be sure that we all heard the same thing, we all saw the same thing, and that's how we're gonna get to a conclusion.
And there weren't any hardcore people who thought she was guilty.
No, there was people who were hanging on the manslaughter, like I was in the beginning. So we need to discuss why it's a manslaughter or why it's not. The verdict is slip was very confusing. Because I would prefer if I see lesser offense, guilt or not guilty, but was confusing. We thought that if we charge her with the OUI, we also would charge her with the manslaughter, for example. That's what we thought first.
And Bev never answered that for them, did she? No.
So we need to work around why it's not a manslaughter. But I don't think any of us thought it was murder in second degree, ever. I don't think none of us thought that.
Why do you think they charged her with murder?
No clue. That's one of the things that I find weird too. If they charged her just with the manslaughter or vehicular homicide or something like that, maybe they would have better proof to convict her of something. But putting this murder charge there, second degree, just made things more fishy to me.
Have I missed it? How was the food, by the way?
Horrible.
Horrible.
Sorry, I gained 10 pounds, guys. Like, I'm over 2 months just eating bread for lunch every day. I was doing so good. No, they give us menus and we have like 2 or 3 options restaurants, but in general, with sandwich, chips, and soda. And I have way too many kids at home. I already have to cook for them, so I couldn't cook for me to bring lunch every day. So I ate bread every single day of this trial, or pizza on Fridays.
Are you happy that you had this experience? I mean, it took 2 months out of your life, basically.
I am. Why? I am, most of the time, I'm a stay-home mom, okay? Like Jen McCabe like to say, I'm just a mom. And being out of the house every day and give me this routine, like feels like work again and make me remember my days before kids, when I wake up, dress up, and go to work. So I like this experience. And beyond my personal feeling, the power gave to me to decide in someone's faith, great, huge responsibility, but also I'm happy to be part of it and be able to serve justice. That's like, I'm really happy that I'm confident that Karen Reed is not going to jail. She's not going to pay for something she didn't do. And this filled me with joy, for real. And fill me with anger, the fact that we don't know what happened with John O'Keefe. That's the angry part that I want to know.
And is there anything else you want to say, Paula?
Can I clarify 2 things that people are going over me on Twitter or X?
What? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so they are all saying, how come she's an attorney and she was picked for jury? She's a liar. No, I'm not an attorney in the U.S. I'm an attorney in Brazil. Never worked here. I'm not licensed here. And how come?
And just being an attorney doesn't preclude you from being able to be on a jury. She could still serve on a jury if it's not like she could be a tax lawyer, and not anything to do with crime. So who knows what her specialty is?
She loves true crime, but she didn't know about the case because all my interest was Brazilian cases from my country. My social media account is in Portuguese. The things I follow are from Brazil, from Rio de Janeiro, my city. So guys, I really didn't know anything about the case. I thought Turtle Boy was an environmental problem. Karen Reed was just a lady, with, I don't know what happened to her. I never checked. I didn't want to check. I don't have time to check. I watch Miss Rachel every day. That's it.
You watch Miss Rachel?
Yeah. I have young children. That's it. My news come from some social media and internet, but it's international news. That's why I didn't know, and I really did not know.
But these are just trolls. You shouldn't let them worry you.
I know, man, but, I just want to clarify. If I can clarify, why not?
All right. Okay. And anything you want to say to Karen Reed directly?
Karen Reed, I'm sorry I judge you, but your behavior in court at first, it's never good to judge the person at first sight. I actually admire your demeanor, and I'm happy that you're free now to live your life, to recover. I mean, can't recover the time missed, but I really hope you find peace and happiness and joy with your family, rest, and God bless you. That's it.
All right. Paula.
Wow. Wasn't that an amazing interview? Good job, Howie, for nabbing that interview. Turtle Boy is going to be interviewing her as well on his Sunday night show. So tune in for that. Up next, you guys might have heard that the McAlberts did an interview with ABC News this morning. And I guess this is so I don't know who has decided that Michael Proctor and the McAlberts should all just come out and make statements now that Karen Reed has been acquitted, but they decided to do that, and it's not a good look for them, but it is what it is. And this is a very, very interesting interview.
The criminal justice system has let us down at every turn, and yesterday was the final letdown. And that's why we're here, because there's nobody left to stand up for us.
Think real long and hard before you're a witness in a case, because no one protects you. And it's very, very sad.
For the first time, some of the key players in the Karen Reed trial sitting down for an exclusive interview. His friend, Jennifer McCabe, and her husband, Matt, former Boston police sergeant Brian Albert, and his wife, Nicole, and his brother, Chris Albert. All five of them pulled into the center of this high-profile case and now speaking out.
And I think the reason we all stayed quiet is because we were just witnesses. This is a thing that we had nothing to do with.
We did the civic duty, came and told the truth, and that's it.
Free Karen Reed!
It's the case that has captivated the country and divided a town. Karen Reed, accused of killing her Boston police officer boyfriend, John O'Keefe, hitting him with her SUV and leaving him to die in a blizzard.
Not guilty. Not guilty.
Now, after a second trial, a jury acquitting her of the most serious charges, second-degree murder and manslaughter. And hundreds of supporters in pink, Karen Reed's favorite color, cheering as the verdict came down yesterday.
I could not be standing here without these amazing supporters.
People turned this thing into a tailgate party, it looked like, some days. Board games, cornhole, cookouts. This is a guy that was murdered. And it's atrocious for that family.
While the prosecutors blamed Reed for O'Keefe's death, the defense said this group of family members framed Reed to cover up what really happened that night. Ever since, their lives becoming open season for endless conspiracy theories.
What they've done is they've dehumanized us to the sense where we're not real people. We're almost like caricatures. We're pawns.
Have each of you been called murderers? Like actual murderers?
Oh, yeah, on a daily basis.
Anybody who's touched this case has been called a murderer at some point.
And anyone who's friends with us support cop killers.
After 3+ years, the saga wrapped up yesterday. Reed captured celebrating at dinner with her father, and today seen walking with her attorney, Alan Jackson.
I didn't even know I'd be here today, so I had no plans.
Meanwhile, O'Keefe's family and friends struggling with the verdict.
I'm just sad for John's family and what happened yesterday, and I feel like they didn't get justice for him, and our lives just changed forever.
Why speak out now after the verdict?
We took what we thought was the high road.
Right.
Let the court do its job.
After a night of hanging out at a local bar in a brutal 2022 blizzard, Brian and his wife Nicole hosted a late-night gathering at their home. An invitation had been extended to Reed and O'Keefe, but Brian Albert says neither of them ever entered his home that night. O'Keefe was found lying unconscious in the snow of Albert's front lawn. He was pronounced dead at the hospital hours later. The defense's theory? A violent altercation at the Alberts' home, possibly involving other members of law enforcement. Did John ever come in the house?
Never, no.
You never saw John O'Keefe in the house, right?
Never.
Never.
These are people in your own community who believe the conspiracy theories, who believe that there were other law enforcement officials and agents involved in this. Why? For the first time.
Oh, crap. I just lost my spot. That was about the hardest hitting question he's asked so far. I missed it now. Hold on. We gotta go back.
Oh, yeah, on a daily basis.
Anybody who's touched this case has been called a murderer at some point.
And anyone who's friends with us support cop killers.
After 3+ years, the saga wrapped up yesterday. Reed captured celebrating at dinner with her father, and today seen walk. Meanwhile,
Yesterday, and I feel like they didn't get justice for him, and our lives just changed forever.
why speak out now after the verdict?
We took what we thought was the high road.
Right.
Let the court do its job.
After a night of hanging out at a local bar in a brutal 2022 blizzard, Brian and his wife Nicole hosted a late-night gathering at their home. An invitation had been extended to Reed and O'Keefe, but Brian Albert says neither of them ever entered his home that night. O'Keefe was found lying unconscious in the snow of Albert's front lawn. He was pronounced dead at the hospital hours later. The defense's theory? A violent altercation at the Albert.
Come on.
Own community who believe the conspiracy theories, who believe that there were other law enforcement officials and agents involved in this. Why is it people in your own community who believe these conspiracy theories?
You do realize for this conspiracy to be true, it would take 30 to 50 people. You'd have to have multiple cops on 2 different police departments.
No, you wouldn't. You would not. You just need a couple crooked cops, a tight-knit group of Canton townies that can keep a secret, and that's it. and some gullible people that are investigators who are just being told, they're just doing what they're told or doing what they can with what the evidence they have, and it's because the evidence was already tampered. They don't even know that. So, I mean, it's not that difficult to understand. And conspiracies, the whole point of a conspiracy is more than one person. And conspiracies of multiple people, sometimes, like tens of 20, 30 people at a time. There are conspiracy, racketeering, charges, criminal charges that get charged for large groups of people. It's not unheard of. So for them to act like, well, this conspiracy could never happen, baloney.
Multiple civilians, the medical examiner, firemen, EMTs, you name it. That's how preposterous and silly this is. And great question. I don't understand how people bought this.
Brian Albert says he and Nicole only found out about John's death when Jen McCabe, who is Nicole's sister, barged into their bedroom.
She was just upset, and I immediately thought something had happened to one of her children or one of my children, because why else is she in my bedroom at 6:30 in the morning right now?
And what did she tell you?
She said, John's out front. I think John's dead out front. I said, what the are you talking about, Jen? And I'm like, who? I didn't know.
You still didn't piece it
I
together.
didn't understand what she was talking about, because why would John be out front of my house?
So
he just says here, John's out front of my house. Later, he's going to say when he woke up, John was already gone. So I already just found some inconsistencies with Brian Albert's interview here.
Massively confusing. There are police officers, EMTs on your front lawn. You're an officer. Why don't you just go outside and investigate or take a look?
I'm not a Canton police officer. I'm a Boston police officer. I was just
So he can only help people that are in his jurisdiction as a Boston police officer, apparently, even though he's a first responder and knows CPR and things like that. But no, he's not allowed to touch you, I guess, unless you're in his district.
woken up out of a cold sleep from hanging out the night before. By the time I came downstairs, the police were already in my house. John was already gone. There was no...
See? So Jen tells him John's on your lawn, but by the time he comes downstairs, John's already gone. So how long were you upstairs, and why'd you wait so long to come downstairs? You waited for him to leave. You purposely did that.
Nobody to save. I would have taken a bullet for John O'Keefe because he was a fellow cop. That's the most ridiculous question that people always ask. It makes zero sense. What am I supposed to do? Run out front in my underwear and start running yellow tape around the fire hydrant?
Over the course of the...
So he would take a bullet for John, but he won't put pants on and go downstairs and secure the crime scene or try to help in any sort of way. He'd take a bullet, but he won't help when it actually means something, when his assistants could actually do something.
The night, Reed called and texted John 52 times. She then called Jen asking for help to find John. Karen previously telling me she and John had gotten into an argument that night. Did you say that you were angry with John that night?
Yes.
Could you have been angry enough and slightly drunk because he had annoyed you that in a fit of rage you just backed up and
Never.
tried to tap him?
Would
Not
never
to try to kill him, but try to...
to tap him with my 6,000-pound full-size SUV, to hit John's body with my car. No.
I spoke with a juror tonight who told me she believes a collision did not occur.
Overall, a lot of the evidence had caused reasonable doubt, and that was enough for us not to convict.
A little after 6 a.m., Karen found John's body in the snow. Jen called 911.
911, what's emergency?
There's a man passed out in the snow.
Hello?
But what raised eyebrows at Reed's trial was a defense theory about a Google search Jen had made about how long it takes to die in the cold. The defense claiming she searched it before O'Keefe's body was found. So much has been made about that Google search that morning. Was it at 6 a.m. or was it at 6:27 a.m. how long to die in the cold? What's your answer?
She asked me to do it at outside of Fairview at 6:20, whatever it was. Doesn't matter how much I say about it, people will not believe it.
The group also hoping to clear up rumors regarding the Albert's dog, Chloe, who had been rehomed after the incident. The defense claimed the dog was involved in O'Keefe's death.
Those wounds were inflicted as the result of a dog attack. Those marks are from teeth.
They've known for 2 years where Chloe is. The state shared it with them.
So if they wanted to take DNA evidence from Chloe the dog and match it to possible DNA evidence on John O'Keefe, they could have matched.
Absolutely.
But now with the
No, they couldn't. They did not know where Chloe was. They were never given an address or any location. The fact that she was even alive, they were never even told until Nicole Albert was on the stand in the first trial saying that she drove to Vermont or whatever and dropped her off. Or that Chloe was in Vermont and she dropped her off halfway or whatever, that's where Chloe was living. And since then, she's been rehomed again, I guess. I don't even know. Like, how do we even know that it's Chloe? This is ridiculous. And they're like, "Oh, they knew where she was. They could have tested her at any time." Really? Because they had wanted samples from the clothing from John's arm, which never took place. That never happened. They never took those samples. There were plenty of samples that they wanted that they never even got. They never were able to even obtain John's clothes to do testing of their own. But yet, here you are saying, "Oh yeah, they could have tested John, his clothing up against Chloe any day." No, no, he couldn't because Judge Bev wouldn't allow it because they tried and it got denied.
Trial behind them, they say they're still faced with threats against them and their families, but hope to continue calling this community their home.
You get down, you get depressed, and it's like, but this is the town we grew up in. We didn't do anything wrong. We all contributed to our town. We love our town. Why should we have to go anywhere?
Says the man who sits in front of his mediocre pizza shop and harasses anyone that has a free Karen Reed shirt on. All right. Finally, this last interview, this is only about 12 minutes long. This is Nathan Reed, Karen Reed's brother, and Bill Reed, her father, talking about the post-verdict glow that they're feeling. So here we go.
Right. A little bit of time to maybe have some celebrations yesterday. How are we feeling right now?
Go ahead.
Relieved, first and foremost. Proud. Karen, proud of this legal team, proud of my parents. That.
Still numb. You after living 3.5 years of this nightmare, this terror, this fright, up against this power of the state, its unlimited resources to come after you. It's a nightmare. It's been hell, as I've said on many, many occasions. And right now, to have it over, it seems surreal. We were up till 2:30, 3 o'clock at the seaport. We're tired, we're numb, but we're so grateful. We're so blessed to Almighty God that we have this outcome. Yeah.
When you're sitting or standing maybe in the courtroom, waiting for that outcome, what's going through your mind? Can you kind of walk me through your internal thoughts there?
Well, it's very, it's something I would not wish on anyone who has a loved one, whether it be a significant other or a child. And the child can be 45, as in Karen's case, or it can be 15 or whatever it may be. I mean, so many days. You think of the first trial went on for multiple months. There have been multiple hearings. And now the second trial, multiple months, multiple witnesses over the course of the last 2+ years. And you see these court officers, and they're very professional, very kind, very accommodating, good morning, have a nice weekend, so on and so forth. But in that moment when it's announced the jury has a verdict, you'll see 2 or 3 of those officers come behind your daughter and stand there. And their position is to be sure that if a guilty is announced, and it carries with it a likely imprisonment, that they're going to immediately cuff her. And that idea of embracing her or holding her and being able to kiss her and walk out with her is gone. That is unnerving, and I've always felt that. And that's why we marshaled every resource we could, drained every account we could, galvanized every effort among women who really started a lot of this, because many of them have felt objectified, dehumanized, victimized, not respected, and have identified with Karen that grace, that fight, that resolve to not give up. And I tell you, if it had not been for them, they're in the thousands, and I've met many. I won't say I've met thousands, but I've met several hundred women at standouts outside of court, and I'll say to them, thank you so much. And I'll hear things, I wish I would have had a father like you, and I'll say to them, I'm sure you did. And they'll say, no, you didn't. I said, well, with all respect, the fact that you're here, there has to be some DNA imparted on you that came from him, so be proud of, your dad. And I mean that, you know. So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, but we're grateful. Everything comes to an end, and this nightmare is over, and so gratified and so fortunate we had this great team of lawyers. I mean, as you saw them, they're just so passionate, so smart, so dedicated, and have so much fight, so much resolve. We're very, very fortunate. And you know, when you think of the Sandra Birchmore case that happened in Norfolk County, investigated by some of the same who were part of the Karen Reed case, and I'm not going to, you know, deceive myself into thinking Karen Reed and Sandra Birchmore are two outliers on a data point curve, and that there are not others who have been victimized, but maybe haven't been as lucky and as blessed as we have to have this movement and to have these attorneys so smart, so dedicated to fight for Karen's freedom. And
Karen's right there with them. She really is. She's so strong, and in many ways, she's a leader of this movement as well. They see a bit of themselves in Karen, whether it be just their gender or what she's gone through. But you know, the lawyers have talked about it, whether it be Alan, David, Bob, Liza, all of them have talked about how Karen is really an integral part of this defense team. And she was from the very beginning.
Have you talked to Karen today?
Oh, sure.
Yeah. You know, we were with her this morning, we were with her last night in the Seaport.
Right.
And we've talked to her a couple of times today.
How's she feeling?
Elated. You know, she's just waking up today from a nightmare. She was telling us when she went back after court yesterday and after the verdicts and her freedom, and she went back to her hotel room where the entire defense team was staying and looked at her various attire, her suits that she wears, and she said, okay, the immediate thought was, what am I going to wear tomorrow? And it just hit her. Well, there is no more tomorrow. So, you know, just so happy for her and so proud of her. And we're blessed. We're blessed that the good Lord has seen this to a justifiable end, for sure.
Nathan, I asked you this question earlier too. What's next for Karen? Maybe a book in the works, or what are we thinking here?
I don't know what she's going to do. I think a book is a possibility, you know, about these experiences, her life, her story.
Plenty to write about.
Yeah, and even before this, you know, what she's done for a living and her health issues that she's had, those challenges make for quite a story. And then you add in, obviously, these legal issues and the family and everything. I think there's a book there somewhere down the road.
Do you think she'll stay in the area?
I don't know. That's up to her. Yeah. You know, we'd love her, whatever she wants to do. Yeah. Whatever she wants to do. She wants to go to California, Florida, stay in New England, Turkle.
Go to Australia.
Travel, do something.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. I noticed, Bill, and really as I walked up here, it's all about getting back to normal. You guys are doing the yard work. You're working around the house. Is this the first time you've really been able to do these things?
Well, it's the first time this week, and it's the first time in three and a half years, whether it be plowing this driveway or whether it be doing lawn work last year or spreading mulch. It's the first time I've done anything leisurely in 3.5 years where I haven't had in the recesses of my mind that threat that I could lose Karen. And that's very comforting. That's the power of Almighty God.
We talked about it just an hour or two ago. The difference feels like you can actually put your phone down today and not worry, is there, you know, a concerning call or text coming through. And today feels, I don't want to speak for my father, but it feels like there's that relief there of, it's okay, if I miss the call, everything's probably okay.
Yeah. No parent, no loved one should experience what I've experienced, and my wife and my son here just should not. The justice system should be in place that at various levels there are gatekeepers who evaluate the evidence, who evaluate the strength or weaknesses of the case, and make an astute, informed, and proper decision. And when you think of what's happened in this case, the Department of Justice, federal government was involved, provided 3,000 plus pages. Also the ARCA, the scientists from Pittsburgh and Philadelphia area.
What happened? Why does it keep doing that? My internet sucks today, apparently.
Who concluded, based on their independent study, that the injuries to John O'Keefe were not the result of being struck by that vehicle, nor was the damage to the vehicle the result of striking a 6'1", 216-pound individual. And then it was the Department of Justice that also provided you with the infamous Proctor text. And then with all of that, they still go forward. And then on March 19th, 12 days before retrial 2 launches, they fire the lead detective. They fire me, the lead detective. And we still had to be put through the ringer.
They fired him for his conduct in this case, yet they still went through with the trial.
People may say it's absurd, it's scandalous. In our position, it's frightful.
It's scary. Truly.
And so nobody, and I would tell everyone who can watch this, take back your government. Get out there and vote. Do not be apathetic. Get out there and make your vote count and hold your leaders accountable. And if you don't like what you see, hold them accountable by changing your vote and going elsewhere. But that's the power of America, the power of your vote. There are 800,000 people living in Norfolk County, the richest county in Massachusetts, by the way. And my understanding is only 70,000 of them, less than 10%, voted in the last election. So it's important. Get out there and take back, make your voices heard.
Good sentiment.
Yeah.
Anything else that you guys want to say that I have not asked?
I would say in regards to the supporters,
Yes.
They put us over the top. That level of support, what we heard in that courtroom yesterday, when you're in there, there's a 3 to 5 minute delay between what's said there and what's maybe coming through on the TV or on the radio and what people are hearing outside on their phones. And when we heard not guilty, and the crowd goes nuts, it was palpable. It came through your body. It was like Mick Jagger or Taylor Swift came out on stage at Gillette, and the place went nuts. I mean, Mass State Police told us as we were leaving, there were better than 3,000 people outside, supporters, just lining the streets. Security everywhere. It's amazing, and that's because of Karen. That's because of her story. That's because of the team and her supporters. So a huge thank you to her supporters. And I know a ton of them come out of Rhode Island. We see it. We've seen it at standouts in Rhode Island. I work in Rhode Island. I see it constantly. So all around New England, all around the globe.
Yeah, to hear that applause and it reverberate through that courtroom, and everybody heard it. It was just one of the few times over the last 3+ years I was proud to be an American. I said, this is what it's about. Thank God I had them, behind me. It was just, gave you goosebumps when it just riveted through the court, and it was unmistakable. And when we came out, it was just
all over again.
Yeah, all
round
over
two.
again. Yeah.
Alan Jackson said to us, he hugged us in another courtroom before we walked out, and he just looked at us and he went, "I'll never forget that sound."
Yeah.
And we won't either.
Gives me chills.
They had even the defense team had put up signs saying like, please be respectful, don't make any sounds when the verdict is read. Like they put this outside where all the supporters were standing. I don't like to call them protesters, but all the supporters, they told them, please be quiet, don't react, don't have noise, don't make noise. Yet you heard what happened. Of course they were going to make noise. It was impossible. They were not going to be able to keep quiet.
As you're explaining it now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Anything else that you guys want to say?
Thanks for making the story part of your broadcasts, in your newscast, and then I know you typically run some special focus of it, and maybe the 7 o'clock hour with Gene Valicenti and Katie Benoit. Yeah. So we appreciate.
I don't know who those people are. They must be local newscasters. But anyways, that is all I have for you today in this episode. I'm sure there's going to be even more interviews and things to come, but I wanted to try to stay on top of it and give you guys a few more interviews and reactions from people, jurors, McAlberts, all sorts of people. So take care, guys. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Please don't forget to hit the like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye now.